Welcome to part 2. Speaking of Korean refugees, the 500 Yemenis that somehow ended up in Jeju were not all accepted. Therefore, Western media has decided that Korea is xenophobic. There is a CNN story in South Korea: opposition to refugees is a cry for help. The Hill said an Islamophobic approach toward refugees could actually make Seoul a greater target for terrorists. Just do what they say or they'll bomb you. Al Jazeera does an interview with a refugee to discuss the Islamophobic South Korea. The Guardian UK: anti-refugee rhetoric has taken on Islamophobic overtones. Australia's Lowly Institute: feminists, the young, and Islamophobes have allied against the desperate Yemen. You see, everything is Islamophobic, don't you know? The New York Times has a hilarious op-ed about South Korea's enduring racism as well. I'll give you a hint: when all these leftist newspapers are getting up on you, it's probably because you're doing the right thing. This New York Times piece, written by a Korean American, actually, who seems completely sucked in by the Western liberalism ideas, and says most of the country is a bunch of bigots. But the amazing thing about it is, well, there are a few things with it. First, who voted to turn Korea into a multicultural slave of the EU? Korea had a lot of negative foreign dealings over the years, in case you didn't remember. So I think they can make their own decision if they want to help their own people first, without moral busybodies from the other side of the world getting involved. Second, why the fuck are Yemenis in South Korea? There are, 100,000 empty refugee camps in Saudi Arabia, which is a lot closer than Korea, isn't it? The law for asylum seeking is that you go to the nearest safe country to apply. Now, Saudi Arabia has been accepting Yemeni refugees since 2015, but the Yemenis also went to Malaysia. That wasn't good enough for them either. Here's another quote from Jang Woo-sung.
우리나라 역시 난민의 아픔을 겪어도 유엔과 다른 나라의 도움을 받았다는 것을 기억해야 한다면서 현명하게 공생하고 남대할 방법을 찾기 위해서라도 난민 문제가 관심을 가져주길 바란다고 낭구했어.
There's two glaring problems with this comparison. I don't recall any terrorist groups in Korea. I also don't recall when Koreans imposed millions of people on other countries' economies. They mostly just stayed here and received help, and that worked out quite well. Now, you can find some reports of Koreans that went to Germany after the war in the 60s, 500 or so that worked in coal mines. I don't know if you know what that really entails, but imagine 40 degrees all the time, pitch darkness, saving your water so you don't die, entering smaller areas that the taller Germans can't enter. And of course, many of them died. Many of them didn't even know because it was so dark. But the Koreans did their work and they learned language, and the Germans praised their hard work. So let's compare that to the enemies. When they came to Jeju, some were offered work and some did the work happily, so kudos to them. Those who worked on the fisheries or in the factories, they were complaining they didn't get time off to pray 6 times a day. There was pork to eat, just generally making excuses to not work. That's a lot of complaints for people fleeing for their lives. Even other foreign workers were saying,
왜 예멘인만 특별 대우자?
the government made Jeju Su help hire about 100 Yemenis. Only 19 are left right now. They also made Harim Su help hire about 66, and only 1 is left now. I got a quote from the Yemeni here. It says,
처음엔 예멘에서 학생들을 가르치는 일을 했는데 갑자기 백파라는 걸 말도 안 해요. 우리는 이곳에 물고기를 잡으러 오는 게 아니다.
no one asked you to come here. Here's a question here. Why do they make the migrants do such hard work? Well, when a country goes out of its way to help other people, it's not in a position to create new jobs for these people. They can fill empty positions, and if they're really refugees, they'll be glad to do it, given they're treated equally, of course. Keep in mind that equal doesn't mean you get 6 breaks for prayer and specialized diet because of your belief system. Another major complaint by these moral busybodies: Korea has only accepted 2% of all refugee claims. I didn't know all these journalists had the documents for these rejected claims. I'm really glad that they know better than everyone else who actually reviewed them. I find it really odd that Japan has about the same acceptance rate for refugees, but there's no news sites calling Japan xenophobic or Islamophobic. If you want me to cover the migrant crisis in any specific countries, please comment below.